Hello everyone, I'm Ferdi Salvador. Join us in unlocking the tricks of the trade here on Trade Talks. Let's get down to business. Do you want to experience the Parisian scene without having to leave Manila? You will be able to do that soon as the Gastronova Hospitality Group brings to the Philippines Maison Ladurée, a French patisserie that will set up shop at the Bonifacio Global City. This will be historic because it will be the brand's first grand flagship store in Southeast Asia. Let's find out more about Maison Ladurée, where we will be speaking with the man responsible for bringing Paris to Manila, Karan Gopwani. He is the CEO and President of the Gastronova Hospitality Group. Good morning, Karan. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Ferdi.
This is truly historic. That's why we wanted to have a conversation with you. But before that, I want to get to know you more. I know that your family is heavily into the eyewear business, and you are working with that business for some time.
Yeah, so I've been working for the family business now for about 4+ years now, entering the 5th, and it's been surreal. We've been in the eyewear business now for about 30+ years.
Yes.
Heavily into distribution and retail.
Yes.
And yeah, it's been a surreal experience.
But why break out of that safety net and open a restaurant, especially something that's globally iconic like Laduree?
You know, honestly, it's really due to the economy, because you know the economy has been a major shift from as you can see with the luxury has been expanding in heavy volumes. As you can see from the developers itself, you could see SM now going to the premium segment, developing really high, high developments in that scale. You could see BGC, you could see what's happening with the Okada on that area, Pasay City and Entertainment City. These things were not there previously. So the reason of why I really wanted to bring Laduree here was to make a difference in the country and to raise the standards to the world-class standards of food and beverage. I feel that we are we're still backwards in where we aim to be within the food angle and food and beverage. So it's been a journey, I would say. It's been a journey.
Yeah, but you started Gastronova in 2022. Was there any fear of you starting in the F&B world?
Honestly, it's been, I wanted to create an ethos because we've been already in the luxury retail, as you know, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to bring the ethos of having our luxury retail with luxury hospitality, have a marriage between both. Because we already have the consumer base with our luxury retail. So what can we do to enhance this experience by bringing the luxury hospitality? And that's what really, I was not really worried because, as you could see, the economy was growing in 2022. We hit our highest growth. And I've noticed that the Philippine consumer is a completely different consumer to what we were in 2015 or 2010 to what we are today, right? As you could see, even the GDP has grown tremendously over that span of time, right? We're averagely growing at about 5.6%. You can't beat such metrics. Our macros are more or less, are great. So I see a great period for the Philippines over the next, especially within the luxury sphere over the next.
Because I won't even get into the contractions of the luxury markets in different places because we are special in that aspect. But you must have nerves of steel for not being afraid of opening something like this.
To be very honest with you, as you mentioned, with luxury contraction, you could see that within the clothing aspect, which, because people are now moving towards a premium segment, more casual. The pandemic has brought out that kind of an influence. However, luxury hospitality is actually on the opposite trend. It's actually going upwards. Everyone is wants more and live a better life.
Did you always have a love affair with food or this kind of business? It must come from somewhere because you won't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to open up a luxury restaurant that's globally known.
It's more than just that. I've wanted to bring a difference to the Philippines. I've been a foodie myself for a very long time, and I felt that the Philippines needed something that was dynamically different.
Yes.
And so that's why we're bringing in Laduree because we wanted to create a difference in the market.
Yes.
Something that is not really to compete, but something to create a new movement. Yes. Something that really steps out differently. Something that the consumer can really say, because not a lot of Filipinos can afford to go to Paris. You know, our kababayans don't really have this opportunity. You know, only a select few of the population. So why not we bring this experience from Paris to the Philippines for our Filipinos?
1,000%. I agree with you because I mean, even those who can afford to go to Paris, they can't do that weekly. And like, of course, you know, the champion product of Laduree are its macaroons. That's what made them famous, and you know, it's a craving. I'm looking at the images, right? I'm craving for it right now, especially the rose one, right? But did your parents support you in this endeavor, or it was just like, folks, I'm gonna do it myself?
You know, to be honest with you, my parents have been supportive. However, emotionally more, but not one penny. This was completely done by me and my new endeavor. I wanted to do something to say, what could I do completely different than the out of business? Because you see, our business is evolving and it grows much, you know, over the course of time. And I wanted to do something that I could say that's mine and something that is completely different, something that I can say it's self-made.
Yes.
And a lot of people actually mentioned, Karan, you know, such a big thing you're doing because, you know, Laduree is coming. How are you going to move into food? How are you going to move into the F&B field? And I said, you know what? It's all about the team. And you create the team that builds the enterprise. So we have such a dynamic team, world-class team. From our chef that is from Paris previously, that's now back in the Philippines. Even our general manager was now back, you know, was in Paris for training. All our training and our ethos and our culture is all world class because we have now brought this training from there.
But you got to pat yourself on the back with that. I mean, you know, from when you started to, you're opening in literally a couple of weeks in July, right?
Actually, I wanted to announce it here today. So,
breaking news, folks. Karam's going to say it.
So we are actually opening on July 3, 4, and 5, but the grand opening is going to be on the 5th. The global CEO is flying in. This is the first. Actually, this is a very, very large opening because this is going to be their flagship store, all of Southeast Asia. This is actually the first time that Filipinos can say we have something that we don't have to go to Singapore, we don't have to go to Hong Kong.
That the others don't have.
So actually, they have to come to us.
I hope you can invite us so we can do a follow-up story on that on the opening.
Oh, yeah. Please, you're always welcome to come for the opening. Yeah.
But you know, Laduree was represented before here. What's the difference from the previous representation to the outlet you're going to be opening?
I can't really comment much on the previous representation because I'm not aware of what their dealings were with Laduree. However, from what I know, I was not in the Philippines yet. I was in the U.S. for my master's and for my bachelor degree, and therefore, from what I heard, they were a small macaroon store, and it was not really the full service menu, and it was not, and it also entered at a very not a good time in the market. It entered in 2015, and the Philippines. It's all about the timing, right? What time you bring really the product in the market, and I feel that maybe the entrance of the market was not done in the grand approach of what we're trying to accomplish. What we're really doing is huge. It's costing us a fortune just to build this.
Of course, but how many people can you seat in the restaurant?
So we have an exclusive 32-seater salon de thé, and we also have a retail section and a coffee section. So this is actually going to be the first flagship store or something done like this in the Philippines, because usually in the Philippines, as I was mentioning previously, is that you either go into a cafe or you go into a fine dining restaurant. But this is the first concept where you get all into one aspect, 3 in 1. You get what I mean? So we're not really saying this is only for the rich or this is only for the wealthy. This is actually for the whole crowd. A BC market can come in and really just pick up a macaroon and a coffee. But if you really want a full experience, you go into our salon de thé for high tea, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It really depends on what you could or what are you really looking forward to do. You know?
Aside from macaroons, what do you think will be a big hit among
honestly,
the Filipinos?
We have almost 50 selections. You know, we have macaroons, we have Eugenes, we have langue de chat, we have pastries, we have chocolates, we have we have accessories, we have tumblers, we have a whole range. We are emulating Champs-Élysées in the Philippines. So in order to do something of that grand scale, we had to bring in the full range. So what the consumer is going to be getting from Champs-Élysées, they're going to be getting from the Philippines too.
So you're importing everything?
Actually, everything is flown into the country. Well, when I say everything, I want to be very clear.
Yes.
Our frozen goods or our goods that are basically our pastries are all flown into the country fresh.
Yes.
Because they're going to be brought in and we have to basically...
So you don't bake them here?
No.
That is wow. That's pure luxury. I mean, your pastry was flown in for you to have.
No, it's coming directly from the baker's
Yes.
hands to the Filipino's mouth.
So
there is
nothing
no
that
Philippine
you're-
intervention.
What about the cooking here? Any of your menu items are going to be prepared here?
So the salon de thé items are going to be made from the Philippines, obviously.
Okay.
However, our ingredients, certain ingredients, are brought in from everywhere around the world. Our blueberries, our raspberries. As you know, in the Philippines, we don't really get the quality that we could deserve in terms of certain elements. But there are obviously a various large pool of items which we're sourcing directly from the country. But I would say a large volume of our ingredients are brought in from internationally speaking.
That's really dizzying. Because, I mean, just the logistics itself, I mean, you know, from expecting ingredients to come in. I mean, I'm sure people will expect that this is the high, you know, this is high luxury when you're dining.
Because, you know, our kababayans deserve world class. You
Yes,
know what I mean? Our kababayans
absolutely.
deserve something that they can say they're not getting a 50% version from their global themes. This is something that, you know, is made truly by a chef that was trained from Paris, brought to Manila, you know, and we're actually bringing in a lot of Laduree staff, our OFWs. It's time to bring back our kababayans.
So
you know
your
what I mean?
friend, your chef will be French and from the principal, or do you have local chefs that are...
Actually, we're very proud to say that she's Filipina.
Oh,
However, she
you-
was in Paris previously, working for various different chains there, and then she's basically come back. So basically,
do you mind saying who she is?
it's best we do it in the opening. You know, especially,
Why?
I don't want,
There's a cliffhanger here.
I don't want anyone giving
Sure,
me a few
sure.
calls. You know, I just,
The last minute trying to, trying to pirate somebody.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is so cool. But how did you manage to bring in the brand since you're a new player in the F&B world?
Honestly, it was very, very hard. You know, a lot of luxury brands, especially for the food, I can only comment on the food hospitality. For the hospitality angle, Philippines is still not on the map for them, right? You know, when they enter the region, they usually start from Europe and then go to Dubai, and then from Dubai they go into Asia.
Yeah.
So that's really the scope. And then obviously, when I say Europe and USA as being part of the North American, and then they go through Dubai, the Middle East, and then Asia. They don't usually skip that route, right? Because that's how they test if the luxury could pass through those regions. So it took me 2 years to convince the Maison, approximately about a year. We started talking to them early 2022, and then in 2023, I just told them, just come and visit the Philippines. just come. You could say no when you're here, but just come, and then you tell me no when you're here. And when they came to the Philippines and they saw we have over 80 plus malls in the country, 75, 80 malls. You know what I mean? We are
Were they
consumption-driven.
floored with the amount of commercial space we actually offer the public?
No, honestly, what really wowed them was really the developers, what the scale of the approach from Ayala, what they're doing with the whole Glorieta Greenbelt. They're not doing a small one, they're doing a huge redevelopment. And you can see what SM is doing with Mega Mall. What we know of Mega Mall today is not going to be the Mega Mall of tomorrow. Mega Mall tomorrow of the next couple of years is going to be completely different scope. Speaking to Chico C, he says that it's going to be a completely new, scope. And what BGC is, just BGC is completely, it brings the light. And when they saw BGC, they said there's nothing like this. You know what I mean?
I can see during our conversation, I can see behind your eyes about expansion, but I'm not gonna ask you just yet. But that's amazing.
Don't get me in trouble.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get in trouble. But that's so 2 years in the making to convince them.
2 years, and when they came to Manila and I showed them the location in BGC, it sold them in
Done
2
deal.
seconds. It was done. It was less than 2 minutes. And
Yes.
it usually takes a pattern of time to get the approvals,
Yes.
which it did. However, when they saw the iconic location which we're doing it in, it's really an iconic location. There's nothing better in terms of prime real estate than what we're trying to scope into. So
I'm gonna ask you more
pretty good.
questions,
Yeah.
Karam. So we're gonna be right back here on Trade Talks. Join us later. And we're back here on Trade Talks. Still with us is Karan Gopwani, President and CEO of Gastronova Group of companies. So, you mentioned the difference about the developments of these top-notch commercial complexes, malls, and stuff like that. So, my question is, what are your expansion plans?
Okay, now
Am I gonna break it here as well?
now you're going to get me in trouble. I know we deal with multiple developers, but
Yeah.
however, our first one, you see, Laduree has different types of concepts. There's the flagship store, which we're doing at BGC, which we can only do about one more, which I'm looking at to do.
Okay.
And then Laduree is actually, it's very interesting. We're going to be introducing something called the Laduree Cafe. And the first one is actually in Paris. And now they've been scoping, trying to expand that version. So we're actually going to be bringing that to the Philippines. We're going to be giving the Filipinos an actual experience of a cafe where they actually get a full French experience in the Philippines as well, in a small or a more trimmer version of the flagship per se.
Nice.
But the second flagship store that we're trying to build is going to be completely different because I'm going to be having a more immersive experience. So just as the one in BGC per se, however, there's going to be introducing of many different items that are activities-wise, which I can't really talk about now.
Oh, now you got me super interested. I really want to ask you.
I can't really divulge it yet because we're still in talks with the brand, and
Yes.
I'm still in talks with the CEO, and I'm talking with
Yes.
with their management team about what we plan to execute. But
Yes.
I'm just going to tell you that the second one is also going to be grand.
Is it going to be within Metro Manila?
Yes, it's definitely going to be in Metro Manila. We're looking to 2 or 3 spaces currently right now, but the cafes are going to be the ones that we're going to be expanding in full scope over the next 5 years or so. And then we're also going to be, actually we haven't even introduced yet our B2B, and we have not yet introduced our events. Our events have been,
Wow, Karam, that's a lot in the span of 5 years. So there's going to be a B2B concept of this.
yeah. So we are actually working with airlines right now. We're working with airlines to be putting them into their business class suites.
I'm not going to even ask you which airline because I'm not going to get you in trouble with that.
Yeah, we can.
You're safe.
And we're working very closely with the very very select few luxury hotels in the country.
Okay.
Where we're going to be partnering them to do their exclusive event catering, especially for their high-end clientele that really want something of a Parisian experience, especially those Laduree pyramid macaroons,
Yes, for high
weddings,
tea. Yeah, yeah.
high tea or sort, but just for weddings and sort. And we've got almost 700 inquiries right now for events, which I have not even started.
Wow, you haven't even opened, and that's massive.
And we have, we've been lucky so far.
Sorry, Karam, is this events within the establishment or catering?
It's either private events for their birthday parties, or it's events for their weddings, or I'm also working with the high tier or the ultra tier luxury brands in the country. So we're going to be servicing them for their needs, especially for their events. Because right now, not to name any brands' names per se, but a lot of them are having difficulties finding the right partner to execute the food angle.
You're giving me difficulties with these cliffhangers because I really want to ask you, but I don't want to get you in trouble with the brand.
Let's just think of brands within the high tier volume,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we're being very selective with who we work with in the beginning because everything has to be approved by the Maison directly. So we work very closely with the Maison into ensuring that we work with the high tier luxury brands to ensure their events portfolio. So we already have one that we're working with for July, and we have one coming up for Q4, and so we're really interested in that angle. But our pre-bookings for our store, I've not even released them. We're going to be releasing them on June 5 for the public to book, which I highly recommend they book in advance because we're almost sold out for the next 4 months or so.
What?
Yeah, it's really it's very very tough to get a booking right now because we are really, the interest for Laduree currently, reverting back to your earlier question,
Yes.
what made you want to do this, or were you scared? In the beginning, yes, because of how it was introduced in the country in 2015. But today, the introduction is completely different. So when you give that experience to the Filipinos, they are really with you. You know what I mean? And especially that you're giving it to them first in the region. This is really for the Philippines. This is not for anything else, but really for our kababayans.
Well,
It's really for them.
I'm glad that you've got such a warm welcome, and you're not even open, right? You said sold out for 4 months.
Yeah, if you really look at our bookings, we have to stretch them out even further.
So I guess connections with like a friend as a guest on my show won't work, would it? for bookings.
No, to be honest with you, it's our salon d'été that is really booked out because of the. We're also going to be having. I'm not going to announce it here, but I'm just going to be telling you first. We're going to be doing an exclusive party once a month that is going to be catering to the south of France vibes, the Philippines. So we're going to have an early brunch that is going to have caviar. It's really going to have a beautiful brunch per se that's going to be from Paris here. So it's only going to be
That's really for the high life.
It's for the high life. So in the Philippines we have really not touched this sphere yet. And a lot of people tell me, Karan, we're not yet there. We're not yet there. But that's for the people that don't believe in it. But I strongly believe that the people are ready. If you're seeing, you could see it from the large companies in the Philippines. They're all trajectorying towards luxury developments. So I'm just following their patterns, you know what I mean? And the malls are also doing such great work. So if they're doing such great work to enhance the Philippines, we are their partners to make sure. But this is not our first brand. You know what I mean?
I was going to ask you, Karan, are you going to be expanding to other, based on your profile, are you going to be expanding to other brands? Anything exciting coming up?
Actually, yes. So we are in talks with 3 of the largest groups for luxury food around the world. I can't just name them yet here because we're
Ay, Dios mío. Karan, you're making me salivate here.
I have an NDA with them, unfortunately. However, let's just think when
Can you give me hand signals?
But think of the likes of having when you go to the other countries, where do you go? Think about that, and then that's what we're doing. But we're working with only selected
What cuisine?
brands. So we're going to be developing a rooftop in BGC as well. That's going to be open sometime in 2026 on the latter portion. That's going to be having a beautiful pool, and it's going to have a beautiful Italian-based restaurant that's also going to be serving a little bit of a global theme. That's going to have a Japanese concept too. But it's going to be a mixed and a global feel, and that's where we're going to come in for next year. But I can't release much detail, but it's going to be fun.
Okay, I won't. Okay. Last few questions for you, Karan. Best investment, very quickly.
Best investment. Well, our eyewear business has been a great business so far. There's been no complaints. We've been on a serious growth, currently right now, and we've been focused on the luxury segment for eyewear, and it's been tremendous. We're currently at 80+ stores right now with over 150 department stores that we're in, and we're exclusively with majority of the department stores.
What about your worst investment?
Worst investment, I would say, is buying products that don't ever appreciate. You know what I mean, like luxury
bags.
There's some, you know what I mean, vehicles, or some items that really don't appreciate, which I've completely moved my. Those are my worst investments. So.
You weaned yourself from them, okay? What about your biggest mistake?
My biggest mistake was not going into hospitality earlier. Actually, I'm actually late in the game because a lot of players have already come in, but I've actually wanted to gear into hospitality many years ago, but they say you only enter when you're ready or when you actually or when you have a team that's ready for it.
Yes,
so
correct.
we were not ready, but now that was my worst, and I wish I did it much earlier. So.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. I'm so excited for you.
You're welcome for the opening on the 5th.
Guys,
CEO,
that's official. That's an invitation, and not national television.
And the CEO is going to be herself. So
yes, I hope to have a chat with her too.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, and we wish you the best of luck on Laduree.
Thank you very much.
And that is it for today's show. I'm Ferdi Salvador. Catch the Bilyonaryo News Channel on Free TV Channel 31 and on Cable via Signal Channel 24. Thanks for watching the Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on top.